it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. There's a place to be for education about asexuality, so subscribe and hit that bell icon. Have you ever been in a scenario where you've been really excited yet really nervous all at once, and it's like a really surreal experience, like your dreams are finally coming true, maybe? So that is the case scenario with me at the moment. So, yes, I broke my own dating rules. Should you break your own dating rules? And if so, what are the pros and cons of breaking your own dating rules? Now, what do I mean by this? So, if you follow this channel for a while, you will know one of the pieces of advice I give you is if anyone's got in their profile on their dating profile, for example, Facebook dating, looking for a casual relationship and looking for a serious relationship, then don't bother with those people because they're very contradictory terms. They're the opposite of each other, and usually it means the person doesn't know what the hell they want and is not serious because they're so contradictory. They're like opposite terms. And so I say avoid those type of people, unless you don't get many likes, for example, and you really want to give it a go, like to pass the time or whatever, because usually they're not going to be serious, and fair enough. But if you're looking for a serious committed relationship, do not, bother to inbox these people. Now I'm going to be eating my own words because I also do believe it's important to try different things out in dating, because if you keep doing the same thing, you keep getting the same results. And I've said that loads of times on this channel. And you know that recently I was talking to British guys on Badoo. That didn't work out. And I did explain and express in one of my recent videos that I'm kind of forcing that. Really, I still feel I want to be with an Indian guy. I feel I'm meant to be with an Indian guy. And I've tried, to expand what I'm looking for by trying to like British guys more. I can form a connection with them, but it's not the same as being with the Indian guy. And even while I'm talking to British guys, I feel a bit guilty and weird because I feel like you really need to be with an Indian guy long term. That's like your long term vision. It's not a British guy, Sandra. And as much as I can form a connection, it doesn't feel good. Like I don't feel as safe around British guys. I don't feel as physically comfortable. I don't feel the same way about British guys. And I tried it, it was an experience. Some of it's nice, some of it was not so nice. And overall, I think it's good to try new things. I did say, the benefits of trying new things on dating is like you can, in different types of people, is that you can expand your horizons and learn about different cultures and things. But obviously, as I am British, if it's a British person, I'm not really learning about different cultures as such. So I think you should bear in mind, that you also have to be true to yourself. And I did say that it doesn't feel good. Like it feels like it's a bit fake with British guys. I don't know if I use those words, but it doesn't feel good because it feels like it just doesn't feel right, I still feel more comfortable and confident and physically comfortable and confident around foreign guys, particularly Indian. I've always said that. And I've always been looking for my Indian soulmate since 2014, as you know, on this channel. That's the year I found out I'm asexual. And I didn't know before then that I was meant to be with a British guy, be with an Indian guy, because I was with a British guy at the time. And my longest relationships have been with British guys. So I didn't know that until that year, 2014, that I was meant to be with an Indian guy. I never knew that. I've not had an Indian boyfriend before. I have had dates with Indian guys now and kissed. Well, actually, I had one date with an Indian guy. The other wasn't actually dates. I've kissed more than one Indian guy. Had one official date with an Indian guy so far. Apart from I have more video dates, I'm talking about an in-person date. So far, I've had one in-person date with an Indian guy in the past. And anyway, so I was really relieved that I saw an Indian guy on Facebook dating. I think I told you that I find Facebook dating better for connecting with foreign guys, particularly Indian, because there's a lot more Indian guys on there. There's not many on Badoo. And so anyway, I don't know if I'd fully finished talking to the last British guy I spoke to. I think I had just finished talking to him and he disappeared out of my life, or it might have been the same night as the last time I spoke to him. I can't remember. But anyway, I was so relieved when I messaged an Indian guy on Facebook and he replied back to me. Like, it just felt so much better than talking to the British guy, just from him replying back, just from, like, with the Indian guy on Facebook dating, though, he did have on his profile looking for a serious relationship or casual relationship, and I don't do casual relationship. Casual relationships also usually mean hookups, and I'm not into that at all. And casual relationships to me means it's only for a very temporary period of time. It's like a hookup. It's not really serious. Feelings get hurt, emotions get hurt, and I really would usually avoid that like the plague. But in his profile, he said about he lived in London and where's your favorite spot basically in London. Well, actually, no, I really like London, and I've always felt that my soulmate, if he isn't in my city of Exeter, he would end up being in London. And I think I've mentioned that before on this channel. So I looked at his profile and I saw his pictures, and he had a couple of pictures with some girls in there, but they were more like friendly type of ones. They weren't ones that I felt jealous, which I think is a really good sign, because obviously it's not usually recommended. If Well, I don't think you should be doing it, like putting pictures of you with other women in your dating profile. Like, it can really put women off. But when I saw this, it was more like, I felt it was more like friendship, the photographs, when I saw him with these people. And, I thought it's good that he's willing to have his photograph taken with different types of women, like different ethnicities and stuff like that, and didn't really seem to care. And I loved the rest of his photographs. I have to say, in terms of aesthetics, his look is exactly the look I would really like to really like. So short, dark hair, clean shaven, really nice clothes, thin guy, beautiful skin, really, really nice looking. Like, he does look like he's out of a magazine or something. And really nice backgrounds. Really, just like, I got a really good vibe from this guy when I just saw his photograph. So I just said that I like eating at a Thai restaurant called Eastery in London. And I didn't expect anything to happen with that, other than maybe in the future, because obviously I picture myself with India. I might, maybe at best, um, I can end up meeting him in London to go to a Thai restaurant with him. Like, what's the word? Because obviously approaching Indian guys, when I do have strong feelings that my Indian guy is that my soulmate is an Indian guy, and it just makes it harder, because by that point I was so fed up with talking to different Indian guys who just want marriage and kids all the time and can't accept my asexuality for what it is. And also, that kind of pushed me towards talking to British guys and trying that out. So I automatically assumed that this guy would want sex, marriage, and kids. And at best, I guess I could be friends with him, but it would be hard to be friends with him while I'm so aesthetically attracted to him. And I could eat out with him, and even if I never see him again, at least I have a nice experience, I guess. But maybe I was thinking more we could be friends. And then I was thinking about, like, the clubbing scene in London, that I wanted to go clubbing after Disneyland Paris. I wanted to go to a Bollywood event in London. I couldn't, because you had to have a plus one. If you like, you can go on your own. So I thought maybe, while he's in the UK, because I thought he's probably a student, because it said about him being a student, he's probably visa's gonna run out and expire. And so that may be why he put casual relationship, but I don't want to get involved with the guy who's just gonna leave the country again. So anyway, to cut a long story short, I did approach him. I did say about the Thai restaurant, and yeah, so he was messaging me back, and then he's like, was talking to me about, why do I write such long messages? I'm guessing it's a habit because you're a writer. And I said, yeah, that I am a writer, so it is a habit. And then I said, but I also like you more than just like you. So anyway, we got talking, and then, but I thought he wouldn't be interested in me because of birth certificate age difference, even though he's in his later 20s, which is what I love. And but he looks really young. And yeah, I just thought that he probably is going to go back to India soon, get an arranged marriage, all that type of thing. And so I was kind of saying, like, I wish him the best and in life to find someone else. But then he's like, no, I want he basically, to cut a long story short, wanted me to write him long messages. He loved to talking to me. He wanted me to message him. He said, don't worry about the age, like don't worry about his age. I said, I love his age. So he isn't worried about age and stuff like that. And to cut a very long story short, I ended up video calling with him last night for over 7 hours, and he's coming to see me, fingers crossed, this coming Easter weekend. So I have an in-person like dating weekend with an Indian guy who seems to have a beautiful personality and soul. Not perfect by any means, but when I say by any means, I think it's good I don't put him on a pedestal, because I have a tendency to put a guy I like on a pedestal quite a bit. So I'm trying not to do that with him, but he's aesthetically gorgeous. I don't think he realizes how aesthetically gorgeous he is. And I do like a lot of his qualities so far that he's told me about. There was something that did pee me off, which I spoke to him about, is the fact he said about hobby. And I didn't know whether he meant that asexuality is my hobby or writing's my hobby. So I did get me peed off, and I'm like, why did you say that's my hobby? Like, it's my career, blah blah blah. So I did get a bit peed off and feeling not good about that. And then he said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset your feelings. Just in India, they don't do that, so much for a career. They usually do it for a hobby, and he didn't mean anything bad by it. And anyway, we sorted it out on the video call, because I thought I need to speak to him on a video call, because I picked up a really good vibe from him. And I think I discovered recently that if you have conflict in a relationship or connection early on, it's actually better to do that and to resolve it and see how you resolve those conflicts than have it down the line and not be able to resolve them. So it's actually better, I've learned, that if you've got a problem or difficulty, that you go to the other person and see how they deal with that. See if they deal with it in a courageous manner, in a caring manner, in an understanding manner, in a I'm sorry I upset you manner, I apologize, and if that goes well, then it makes the connection stronger between you and that person, because you know that you've got the safety of coming to them and sharing your feelings, thoughts, and emotions. And if you're feeling hurt and pain, that they'll sort it out so you don't feel that anymore, which is what happened with him. So I'm really glad about that. And it was over 7 hours we were video calling, and he's very open. Like, he was showing me stuff to do with his bank accounts and his chat and everything. Like, obviously, I'm not going to go into that as his personal business and my personal business talking to him. But I just wanted to let you know what was happening, because I did break my own dating rules by talking to a guy that looked like he was looking for the opposite of things. And that was really scary for me doing that. And I'm scared and nervous at the same time, because I really like this guy. Like, I get on so far really well with him, and we can end up thinking the same type of things for each other. But obviously it's really early days. I've only just started talking to him a few days ago. But the fact he was like, oh, what are you doing this coming weekend? And so I said I was going to go to this meetup, but I don't have to go to it. Like, they have these meetups, at 20 to 30 meetups every fortnight. And he's like, oh, what are you doing there like next couple of days? I'm like, I haven't got anything planned. He's like, oh, I'm coming to see you. And I just love that so much. I love that taking control. I'm going to come and see you. You mean a lot to me already, type of thing. He's already been making me his priority in his life with certain things as well. I'm like really in shock in a good way. And I've explained my asexuality to him. He seems really respectful of that and understanding. And he seems to like me specifically, more than anything. So I think that's really good. I think I'm a very caring person for him. I think he needs that in his life. He's very organized. I love that about him. So I love like his aesthetic look. He's absolutely stunningly beautiful. Like, his hair, his face. He actually looks younger than his photographs. I was like, oh my God, you look like younger. And he's the clothes he wears is beautiful, the jewelry he has is beautiful, the way his frame is beautiful, his face is beautiful, his hair is beautiful, and he can hold a conversation with me, and he's really interested in knowing more about me, and he loves talking to me. I love talking. That is a very asexy attractive thing, talking to me. And guess what, he's trained in IT stuff, of course, because I said, like, it's really weird, because obviously I said my soulmate. I'm not saying he's definitely my soulmate, because we've only just met, but I'm saying my soulmate's got short dark hair, tick that box. Clean shaven, very tick tick. Thin, very tick tick. Nice frame, tick tick. Wears beautiful clothes, tick tick. Wears some street stuff. I'm like, yeah, tick tick those boxes. Is talking to me about anything and everything. Tick tick. Loves talking to me. Tick tick. Oh my god. Takes the initiative to actually he connected with me on Instagram without me even asking him to, outside of Facebook dating. So that was a really huge tick. And he left some emojis on my Instagram. I'm like, this is a really good sign. And he's good at sharing his feelings and emotions. I really like that about him. He's really well organized. Like, he plans his day out. He's intelligent. He does gaming. I'm personally not into gaming, but I've got a friend who's into gaming. My ex was actually into gaming, so I'm kind of used to that. And I'm glad that he's got hobbies that he's interested in. He tells me about them. So yeah, he's more open-minded than a lot of other Indian guys I've come across, and he has like had a sort of relationship online with someone who is older than him. So he's used to like an older girl, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I think this is all really good about him. And he did say to me, like, maybe I'll be a chapter in one of your books. And I'm like, oh my god, he's saying that. That's so good. So this is all really good signs. I told him I'm a hyper kisser. That doesn't put him off. So that's really good. Yeah, and I really like him a lot. It's really difficult because I'm really scared at the moment because, like, at the moment, he hasn't got his visa sorted out to stay longer. I don't know when it runs out. He doesn't want to tell me. He says he'll sort it out. So I have to trust that he's going to sort out his visa to be able to stay in the UK. And that's one of the most terrifying things for me. But I just have to trust that he will do that. I think if he does end up really loving me, then I think he will do anything to stay in this country. And that's the test of true love, you know, if the person decides and ultimately stays in the country and does whatever it takes, like whatever job, whatever 3 jobs, whatever it takes to stay in the country, then you know that person really loves you and wants to spend the rest of life technically with you, probably, you know. But if that doesn't happen, then it's going to be heartbreaking for me. I got over heartbreak before, but it's going to be really difficult if that happens. Because obviously I already have some attachment and strong feelings for this guy. Like, it's very natural with him so far. I was scared about saying this on my channel because, you know, I've had strong feelings for guys before who've been Indian guys that have really torn my heart into, you know, and it could happen again. I really hope it doesn't, but it could. And I have to be aware of those consequences. But at the end of the day, if you don't take any risks in life, you don't put yourself out there, as it were, then what if this does end up being the guy for me? You know, what if things go really well? What if things go amazingly well? What if we're the best thing ever for each other? Do you know what I mean? Like, you can think of all the negative what ifs, but what if you think about all the positive what ifs? What if you think this is the most caring, kind relationship, openness I've ever had in my life? What if, like, it's like a bestest romantic friendship you've always wanted? What if he feels so loved, cherished, and adored every day of his life that he's just so much happier in his life, and vice versa? You know, what if all the good stuff? You know, it's a huge risk for me. Emotionally, it's very difficult because I have strong feelings for him already. I know I like him already. I feel like I want to be with him already. And this is really scary for me, but I'm always open and honest with you on this channel. And I think it's important that I tell you this, and it's important I tell you I broke my own rules, right? So what are the pros and cons of breaking your own rules, right? So obviously, if you break your own rules, you have to take responsibility for the consequences. Whether that's a pro or a con, you have to take responsibility. So it's my responsibility now that I have chosen to speak to a guy in Facebook dating that actually had serious relationship and casual relationship in his profile. Now, he has explained to me what he meant by that. So he meant that you do the casual thing first before you get into a relationship, because you can't just get straight into a relationship, which I kind of understand from that point of view what he's talking about, but that's not usually what a casual relationship means. That would mean you date before you get into a serious relationship. But it wouldn't, you know, like, it wouldn't be the same. I wouldn't call that a casual relationship, but I get his point. But yes, I've never heard anyone explain it like that before. But you know what I mean? That's not really what a casual relationship actually means in general. It means casual, as in, like people are not that bothered about each other. You know what I mean? And I feel he does really care about me so far. But you have to look for persistency and consistency over time, which is a lot harder to maintain and sustain. People can easily get into connections, into relationships, into feelings, but it's, can you maintain and sustain that, and communication and healthy communication over prolonged periods of time? Can you do that together? Can you navigate that situation? Can you navigate work? Can you navigate finances? Can you navigate time management together? Can you navigate organizational skills? Can you navigate the unexpected together? That's when you can really tell if people are meant to be together or not. Not all the lovey-dovey stuff, which is great though. I do, as a hyper romantic, I do think all the lovey-dovey stuff is incredible. I like a guy who's romantic. I like a guy who feels things for me. I like a guy who expresses his emotions. It's really, really nice. It's beautiful. And, I think we should pay attention to those moments. We should cherish every one. If you're breaking your own rules, though, you have to know there are consequences to breaking your own rules. They could be good consequences or bad consequences, but it's on you. You can't blame someone else for breaking your own rules. You have to break them consciously because you want to, because you decide to, not because someone's manipulated you or controlled you into doing that. Right? I don't think you should break certain rules that's going to put you in any position where you feel really bad or it's going to hurt you and stuff like that. For example, like in terms of sex, right? I'm not interested in sex. He knows that. But in terms of like sex, if you're an asexual who's, decides one day to have sex, that you got to make sure is that because the person pressurized you into doing that? Is it because you felt you were going to lose the guy or person if you didn't do that with him? Because that's the wrong reasons, so in those cases you shouldn't break those rules, because that's going to be a con, right? The con of breaking your own rules is, can you still trust yourself? Can you still trust your decisions? Did you consciously decide to do that? Because if you didn't consciously decide to change your rules, if you didn't consciously decide to break them, it can break trust within yourself, and it can make you not have strong boundaries. So you still need to have strong boundaries in place. You can move the boundaries if you want, but you need to move them of your own accord, in your own time, not because someone pressurized you, not because you got so carried away with the moment that you completely forgot any sense of who you are, right? You can get carried away with things, and you might do things more than you would normally do. But you have to still be consciously aware of that, and you have to still say no. Like, even when I've been with guys in clubs, right, I will not let them touch me in certain places. That's my rules, and I stick to them rigidly, as much as I allow, kind of sometimes if the guy's hands are either side of me, I'm okay with that sometimes, but not full on, and I'm very, very protective of myself. So it's hard because, I do would say that I do probably break more rules with Indian guys, in the sense that I have more leniency with them than I would do some other guys, because I think I feel more comfortable around Indian guys. As you know, I feel more in general that I'm meant to be with an Indian guy. I'm sure I've been with an Indian guy in a past life. The whole Indian feel, the people, the whole people, even, the whole being around Indian guys and girls at Bollywood parties, they're just so familiar to me. It's like family. It's really strange. I don't know how to describe it. And being in Facebook Indian groups, it's like extended family is feeling. So I've been there before, I think, in a past life, and I believe in past life. So you have to think about, the consequences of your actions. But a pro is obviously, if you try something different, you get a different result. It can be an amazing result that you never experienced or expected. And so therefore, by breaking one of your own rules consciously, you decide it, you give yourself permission to do it, you're comfortable with it, you're confident with it, you're like happy, okay, and whatever happens with this rule that I've broken, I've decided to purposely break it to see if this will change anything in my dating metrics, if you like, in my life metrics, in life matrix. You're basically testing something out. So you can allow yourself to break your own rules, to test something out, experiment, that you have consciously decided to do. Because if you don't consciously decide to do it, you could blame someone else, you could resent someone else, you could get very angry and pissed off with the world and other people. And, if this doesn't go correctly, of course, it's not just my fault because there's two people involved. But if it doesn't go correctly, that's on me. I have had to make that decision, and it's really difficult because I want to protect my heart so much. But at the same time, I thought I just wanted to message this guy, and I felt it was the right thing to do. And I'm like, what's the worst that can happen, Sandra? You end up eating with him having a meal with him in London before he goes back to his country, wherever. And this is before I knew that he really liked me and that I really liked him, before we did the video call, before that, when we were just getting to know each other. Now I don't want him to leave the country, and I don't want him to go, and I'm hoping he sorts all that out. That is a big trust thing with me. Could go wrong, but I'm hoping it doesn't. And he's currently displaying qualities that I really like in a guy. Honesty, openness, transparency, talking about anything and everything. It's like a dream for me. Really, really like that. And I like, that he knows his own mind as well. He was saying something that he was telling his parents, like, "I'm not doing that." And I'm like, "Yay!" He says to his parents what he doesn't like. I think that's amazing for an Indian guy. And so, yeah, I do like him a lot. I haven't met him in person yet, but I've done a video call, and we should be doing another video call, at least one, before I see him in person, maybe more than that. But I've got an actual live interview on Thursday night, so I've got to do a lot of prep for that on my Make Money Make Cash channel, that is. So yeah, really excited. So breaking your own rules is something you should only do if you're consciously doing it, if you're comfortable doing it, if you want to do it. Of course, you might be a bit scared at first, you might find it a bit risky, but you have to keep asking yourself the question, am I still okay to take this risk? Do I still feel good enough to take this risk? Do I still feel it's worthwhile taking this risk? Do I still feel it's in my best interest to take this risk overall? Because the thing is, if you don't take any risk in life, you don't get anywhere. You really don't, and I do wear my heart on my sleeve, as and I can get really hurt. And I hope that doesn't happen to me again. I really do, because I care about myself and love myself so much. I just have to remember that I can pick myself up again, whatever happens, if things don't go according to what I would like them to go to. And, and I will be okay. But I am really scared. I'm a mixture of scared and excited at the same time. Like, I'm excited. I mean, what if, just hypothetically speaking, this guy that I've met recently, what if he did end up being the soulmate that I have been looking for like nearly 10 years? Well, it's since 2014 and it's 2024 now. So it's technically like 10 years minus a few months. But I found out I was asexual around March, April 2014. So it's like nearly exactly 10 years later since I discovered I'm asexual. Because I did say my soulmate's probably too young back then to be with me. But I don't know, like, even if he's not my soulmate, then I think he could be a mate that becomes a soul. My soulmate, I don't know how to describe it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to put pressure on the fact that, are you that guy to him? And I might be, I never could see the guy's face. Well, obviously, with my diary confessions, I had a vision of a guy that wasn't my soulmate. And that's kind of what I thought he would look like, my soulmate. But then when I was at my old place, I couldn't see the guy's face. But whether he's that guy or not, I just think he maybe is a soulmate anyway. Maybe, possibly the soulmate. I'm like, I'm a hyper romantic, so it's kind of hard for me to separate my hyper romanticism from this situation. But anyway, I thought I'd tell you some good news that I have, got someone from Facebook dating who is an Indian guy who seems really keen and interested in me and caring and kind so far, and who's going to come and see me. And I do think this is a major step forward. I wanted to let you know as well, because it's going to affect my live streams at the weekend. It's Easter weekend, like next weekend. So if all goes according to plan, then I'll be spending a lot of time with him to get to know him better. So, it's very exciting, but I'm really nervous at the same time because I'm worried I might get hurt, I think that's very, very natural. It's a huge risk for me. It is really a huge risk for me. And I'm really scared about that. but then if you don't take any risks in life, you don't get F all. And with me liking younger Indian guys in specific ways, I know that it's kind of more risky for me in the way. But you know, you risk the other thing is that if you don't do anything with life, you don't take any risks, then you could miss the best opportunity that's ever come along in your life ever. You could miss the best person for you because you didn't take any risk, because you didn't do any trust, because you didn't believe it's possible. I've always believed it's possible. I still do believe it's possible. Believe the right guy will stay in the UK with me. If he's not the right guy, he won't. But if he is the right guy, he will. And if he can't, then he's not the right guy for me, is he? But I'm hoping he can. You know, I like some of the qualities of him, like I said. And yeah, like I've been, you know, I get relationship anxiety and potential relationship anxiety. So it's kind of really difficult for me at the moment. I'm kind of like anxious. I'm not quite as anxious because, you know, like we had an amazing video call last night and he's been messaging me today, which has really helped reduce my anxiety because I've had video calls with guys before and then they just disappear. I'm not that interested. And that's awful feeling, but it's happened quite a few times to me and I don't like it. But, you know, at least you find out sooner rather than later that the guy's not really interested in you, which is better than finding out months later. But, you know, like he's really keen on me. He seems more keen on me now. He's done the video call, which is a really good sign. And he misses me, which is really sweet and nice. So yeah, I think it's good. So the pros of breaking your own rules is sometimes they can work to your advantage. Sometimes things can turn out better. Sometimes you can end up meeting someone who's really, really good for you, even though you never thought that's possible. Sometimes, you know, you can end up having crazy adventures that you never thought possible in your wildest dreams. And it's better to have precious, special moments that only dreams are made of, usually, and them come true than live a life full of regrets thinking what if I didn't, you know, what if I'd done that and it did work out and you didn't try it, you know, what, you know, if I don't give this a shot, then I would regret it because I'd be like, oh well, what if that did work out really well, you know? And it's very natural for me to talk to this guy, like it's so natural for me to spend time with him. It's really superiorly strange that I want to spend like time with him and care about him like that, you know. I know I do have like obviously a special connection with Indian guys anyway in general, but the specific one more so I'd say than a lot of others, you know. So I'm praying for the best. I'm really proud of myself for being so brave. It does put me in a very vulnerable position, which is hard for me. Um but so far I think he's worth taking the risk for. And I'll just have to see how it plays out. You know, but you got to know that the cons of breaking your own rules is like obviously it could go wrong, and you know, if you're putting yourself in any positions that are unhealthy for you, you know, like I wouldn't compromise your sexual positions. You know, like if you don't want sex, I wouldn't do it just to please someone or keep someone for the wrong reasons. If you decide you're an asexual who's like 5 years into a relationship, you decide, actually, I would like to try sex, that's different. But I wouldn't go around breaking your own rules that's going to be to your detriment. And it's blatantly going to be to your detriment, if you know what I mean. So whatever rules you want to break, you've got to be confident and comfortable with doing that yourself. But I mean, I'm different from what I used to be. Like I wouldn't even kiss guys in clubs years ago. Like I would, you know, I only thought you should reserve that for a serious committed relationship. And so it wasn't until 2019 I gave myself permission to do that on this channel. That was hard. So I broke my own rule, but I purposely changed my rule rather than broke it in the sense that I'm like, okay, I the rule's different now. But you could say I broke that rule because I decided like to not do it anymore, but I rather think it changed the rules. So you could think about changing rules rather than breaking them if you want. No, it's a figure of speech, really. It's kind of the same thing. But breaking the rules is more like you had a rule and then you just decided to do a U-turn and do the opposite. Changing the rules is kind of like you made a conscious decision to change something in the long term. But obviously, you know, like with this, I broke the rules and I did make a conscious decision to break the rules in this case. So, because I thought I'll try just to speak to a few guys who've got casual relationship as well as relationship on there And it was more than just that guy I talked to, but he was the only one that specifically said relationship or casual relationship. The other ones were like everything, like chat, casual relationship, friendship, serious relationship. It was like, oh, I just chose everything. So some guys, young guys who don't know what the hell they're doing, they just tick everything to make sure that they got the best chance of getting someone. That's another kind of dating tactic. But I prefer guys that are more selective. That's why, although he'd only got relationship or casual relationship on there, I'm thinking this is guy's not looking for chat or friendship. He's definitely looking for a relationship. I know that at least. Do you know what I mean about him? So at least he's been has some specificity, and the bit he wrote in his like profile bio question to start a conversation, I thought that was really good, and he's got a lot of photographs, so I thought he seems like a genuine person. Done like IT stuff, which I am very attracted to, obviously. So yeah, I thought this was all good. So I think like sometimes it's worth breaking your own rules if it changes the dynamic of your life, it improves your life, if it gives you more opportunities, if it helps you and it feels good. It might not feel good initially, though. It might feel very nerve-wracking. But the cons are, if you're breaking your own rules at your own expense, if you're breaking your own rules that you're going to regret later, if you're breaking your own rules and you're going to like feel bad about yourself, feel bad about the situation. So there are certain things I've already talked to you about, like financial stuff, some financial stuff, like about paying for certain things. And that is hard because it can put people off. But if it puts people off, then that's fine, isn't it? And I don't want to break like many of those rules, because I think it's important that I've got my own place to pay for, my own bills and stuff, and it's important that I have enough money to be able to do that comfortably, without worrying about things. So I think it's very important that you decide consciously what rules and if you want to break them or not. And if it's going to be to your detriment, it's going to build up resentment, it's going to build up some hatred or some animosity or some bad feelings. It's better to say your truth and stick to your own rules, if you like, whether that person agrees with them or not, like in terms of boundaries, than end up resenting them and having a difficult situation where it's not feeling good to you or them. So please bear in mind that if you do break your own rules, you have to do it consciously and with love for yourself, and it has to be kind of to your advantage that you're doing that for a good reason. So when I was deciding, for example, to kiss guys in clubs whilst I'm single, in 2019, that was to my benefit, because as a hyper romantic, I have kissing needs, and I would usually end up thinking any guy I kissed I would need to be in a relationship with. And some of those guys would have been terrible to be in a relationship with. They would have been really bad for me. So it was better for me to get my kissing needs met in clubs by guys that I'd never see again than not get my kissing needs met at all and end up, if I do kiss a guy, automatically thinking I should be in a relationship with him when I don't even know him, and he could be a really horrible guy, and usually he probably would be after a lot of women if he's kissing girls in clubs anyway. So yeah, so you have to do things consciously and to your advantage, and that's going to be good for you. But it might change something about you, about the dynamic of your life, about the dynamic of your relationship with yourself, maybe even other people. So you got to be conscious of that. But I was glad in 2019 that I did break my rule of kissing outside of a relationship whilst single, not in a relationship, because I think it's given me a lot of adventures in my life. I think it's given me a lot of experiences, and I think it's helped me to get my kissing needs met and not end up in unhealthy relationships for me with guys that are just womanized, basically not good. So you might think, oh, but you let yourself kiss womanizers. I mean, I don't know they're womanizers when I'm actually kissing them. I just guess that a lot of them are. And at the end of the day, I feel good that I've had those experiences because I liked them at the time, and I've trained myself to be able to have stronger boundaries with heterosexual guys. I've trained myself to not get so attached to guys in clubs. But it's completely different, like when I'm actually interested in someone, like with the guy I'm talking about on Facebook dating, like I really like him. Do you know what I mean? It's not, I already have some attachment to him in a very scary way, vulnerable way. Whereas with the guy in club, we don't really speak that much. So it's like You know what I mean? I always used to find that really weird, but then I kind of understand if you're gonna, the one way you get attached to someone is when you talk to them a lot and you share your feelings, thoughts, and emotions. If you don't want to get attached to someone, just don't speak to them that much, which might seem a bit cold, but when I'm in a club and I'm dancing and I'm just kissing, I'm like, that's kind of it. But of course, I've always had in the back of my mind, it'd be nice if I actually met a decent guy at a club that did actually want to be in a relationship, possibly with me. But I'm glad I've met the guy on Facebook date. I'm glad I broke my own rule. I'm just praying it goes well for me because then I could think, oh, why did I break my own rule? I should have listened to myself, rah, rah, rah at myself. But I think you've not got to do that. So if you do break your own rules, you've got to consciously do it and use it as an experiment. And if the experiment turns out really well and, it ends up being a good thing, you've got to like enjoy that and think, wow, I did a great thing. I changed my dynamic of what I do and I end up with an amazing result because like I said, unless you change what you do, you always get the same results. So you have to change what you do. So you do have to change your rules. You do have to change what you're doing. You do have to change your ideology sometimes. Because if you don't, nothing will change. Unless you change yourself or your circumstances, nothing changes in life. And so you have to change yourself or your circumstances. You have to keep growing yourself and you have to keep saying, okay, like, what can I tolerate? What can I not tolerate? What can I change? What can I do to make my life possibly better? What can I do to give myself a new opportunity, not at the expense of yourself? I didn't actually think anything would happen with me with this guy, even though I'm really attracted to him. Because I just didn't know that was going to happen. But actually, I got on really well with him. So far, so good. But I am feeling like really nervous and scared and excited and yeah, at the same time. So I'm hoping it all works out really well. um, I think it's good that I took the risk. I think it's good I broke my own rule and did approach him. And, he seems like maybe he's a really great guy. I say maybe, but I really do like the qualities I've seen of him overall, you know? Um, but I just don't want to speak too soon, you know? It's very soon. And I know that when you meet someone, like, people are always showing you kind of like the best sides, although I've shown like sides of me. I was telling him a lot about my past, some really not great stuff at all. Because I'm like, I'd rather tell him, you know what I'm like? I'm like, I'd rather tell him all that now than if he's gonna like decide I'm not the one for him because he can't deal with that and handle it, then he can just leave my life quickly because I'd rather have that than get attached to him and him not be the right guy for me. Do you know what I mean? So I'm kind of like like, here's my past, here's this, that, and that. But he was really attentive and listening and taking on board things I say and really caring and thoughtful and understanding. And it worked out really well saying that to him. With the right person, it will, because the right person will be like, oh my God, I'm really glad you're telling me this. I really like knowing about you, which is what he said he likes knowing about me. I'm really interested in this. I really, like care and stuff like that. So, I always say the wrong guys you will repulse, and that's good. It's good to know what you want because you want to get rid of all the people in your dating sphere that are wrong for you. So you should be your true authentic self. You should say what you really think, feel, and that, because if that puts them off and they run a mile, they were never for you in the first place. And it's like, fine, next, move on. I know that seems quite harsh and callous. And of course, I really like this guy and I have things for him already. And if it doesn't work out, it's going to be devastating, heartbreaking again for me. But obviously, I have picked myself up before, so I'd have to do that again. But what I'm saying is it's really important that, you cut to the chase quickly, because if a guy can't even handle like stuff like that, or he's not handling it a good way, then, he's not the right person for you. And dating, like I said, is all about filtering people out, the wrong people out as quickly as possible to get to the right people if you're polyamorous, or person if you're monogamous like I am. You want to get rid of all the bullshitters. You want to get rid of all the people that are bad for you. You want to get rid of all the people that are unempathetic, uncaring, unsympathetic. How they handle situations to do with your past, if you do have trauma or difficulties, how they handle that, how they speak to you, the language they use, tells you a lot about the person. If they push your feelings down or emotions, or they avoid talking about it, that's not a good sign. That means they're going to do that in the relationship with you, about their own feelings, about your feelings. It's not good, which he didn't do that. So always watch how people respond to what you're saying to them, in terms of like trauma, in terms of past stuff, in terms of like relationships, in terms of dating. Do they have anything to hide from the past? Like the British guys I spoke to, like they have stuff to hide in their past. But this guy, he'd had that experience with a woman hiding stuff from him actually in her past, and it's a red flag. It's a huge red flag if someone can't tell you about their past and be open and honest about it. Because at the end of the day, it's going to come up. Why should you have secrets from someone? I don't have many secrets, even on this channel. There are stuff that I don't say on this channel. There are confidentiality stuff that I don't say. Like I do have private, confidential conversations with people that are confidential. I don't say all that stuff. But you know what I mean? You need to get to the nitty-gritty as quickly as possible and explain exactly how things are. And if that person leaves your life, the sooner the better, because you want to like say, get out all the people that are wrong for me, bring in the people or person, in my case, because I'm monogamous, who's right for me, and that's what you need to be doing. And so the right person, you'll be a beacon of light for the right person, because you'll be like, hey, this person's different. I like that person's vibe. I like that person's aura. I like the way the person speaks to me. I like the way we deal with conflict. I like the way we deal with discussing things. I like the way we work through problems together, because any healthy relationship is teamwork, right? Any healthy relationship is navigating situations together. It's like saying, hey, I'm a bit stuck on this. How do you think we should handle this? It's one of the best ways you can deal with a relationship or potential relationship or new connection, is to literally, if you really care about you and want them in your life and stuff like that, and you're quite serious about them, then, it's like, ask them, like, how are we going to navigate this situation? So I've already been asking this guy, like, how are we going to fit in time to talk to each other? Like, how are we going to do this, that, and the other? Because by including them in the conversation, it's a joint decision which feels empowering for both of you, right? And to know that you feel and think and care the same way about each other, you're still having to navigate the realities of life and the practicalities of life, is really, really healthy and good. Right? I always thought, because this is the unhealthy stuff, I always thought that, oh, you should avoid conflict, you should avoid arguments, you keep your thoughts to yourself, don't say things you don't like. And I was taught all these wrong things. These are so unhealthy behaviors. And I didn't realize that till like, you know, fairly recently, I guess, in the last year or so. That it's healthy to have constructive conversations and to be able to deal with conflict or difficult emotions and feelings, to be able to say, hey, I felt that wasn't good when you said that. Because how are they supposed to know else? Otherwise, what happens is you build up resentment and ill feelings in a relationship and or connection, and then it just spirals out of control. It's better to say, hey, when you did this, maybe you didn't realize, but it made me feel this way. Or when you said this, I felt this way. When you did that, I felt this way. You're addressing the behavior. You're not saying they're bad. You're saying the behavior is not good. And someone who's a good person for you will want to improve the behavior. If someone apologizes for doing something, but they still have the bad behavior, that's not a proper apology. A proper apology is when someone says sorry and they have a growth mindset to work on improving that thing that was not good for you, that hurt your feelings or put you in a difficult position or situation. You have to work through it together, but you have to be really honest. Sometimes it hurts, because you're like, I don't want to hurt the person I care about or love or whatever, but if you don't say the thing that's on your mind and you don't deal with the difficulties, then it can just end up like, you can end up just festering on it. I was festering on, like I told you at the beginning of this video, that he said about a hobby, and I didn't know he was talking about writing or asexuality. He said about writing, and then he explained, when I video called him, the situation a lot better, and he explained that, in India most people have that as a hobby and stuff. So, but I was quite angry and I was quite pissed off, and I was not feeling good towards him, to be honest, because of how I felt in that situation. But through talking with him and him being able to just like handle that and being able to be fine with me expressing my emotions and that I wasn't feeling good about that and saying sorry to me, and just realizing that he didn't mean to do that, and it was logical to his mind what he was saying, and I understand it more logically now. It's no big deal now. But when I was first in message with him, it was such a huge deal. I'm like, do I really want to keep speaking to this guy? I'm so insulted he called like my whole career and my life a hobby. Oh my God, I'm so angry. But it is a bit of a trigger for me, that, because I've got someone in my I've got someone else who's said that to me in my past, and, it's made me fuming with them in my past, because 'cause you've gotta be careful, obviously, that if you've got past traumas with anyone or difficulties, that you don't get triggered in the current circumstances. So I am aware that type of thing's a bit of a trigger for me. So, but, it's still you still have to deal with the feelings even if you've been triggered, and you have to explain why you're feeling the way you're feeling, and so that they can put it right or explain themselves. But I knew I'd have to get on a video call for everything to be sorted out, and it was. I'm so glad I did that. It was actually my suggestion. I'm like, "Oh, I prefer the guy to make the first move of the video call." I'm like, "But you really need to video call this guy, Sandra, because you'll probably be able to sort things out with him. You'll probably end up speaking to him for a long time," which I did, "and it'll probably be really good for you both," which it was. So intuitively, I was right about that. And I think sometimes you can sort things out a lot more in a video call that you can't necessarily sort out in text messages, because it's not conveyed in the same way. So I do like the fact that he likes video calling as well. We need to kind of like work out when we're going to be doing video calling with each other because of each other's works, different time schedules. So I think that's still like kind of pending for us to fully work out. But we've only just started talking to each other. So it's kind of like gonna be hard at the beginning, and to get used to each other's lifestyles and timescales and all that type of thing. But yeah, so I broke my own rules, and so far it's working in my favor, so it's really good. But don't be afraid to have those difficult and hard conversations. Don't be afraid to show and express your true emotions and feelings in a healthy way. Don't go rah at the person. Because that's not gonna help. They're gonna be, like, so scared. They're gonna be like, "Can I cower now under my sofa? I don't wanna talk to you anymore." So just, like, if you're feeling angry, just say, "I'm feeling angry right now because of this." Like, don't go going, "Rah!" like the Incredible Hulk. Please do not do that. It's not good. So we need to, if we've got negative emotions that crop up because of things people say and do, then we need to express them in a healthy way, saying like, "I feel angry now," or "I feel upset now," or "I'm in pain now." And you need to explain why, because if the person doesn't know why you're feeling that way, they're never going to be able to sort it out, correct the behavior, or explain themselves, or help you to feel better and sort things out. Like with my best friend, even, most of the time we get on really fabulous. We don't have that many issues and problems, but sometimes we do, and then we have to sort them out. And it has to be, we talk them through until they're fully sorted out. None of this business about, "Oh, well, let's just forget it now. Let's have a cut-off point." It's like, no, we discuss it till we fully fledged it out, and we're both comfortable and happy, and we can just move on with no resentment, no ill feelings. Everything's good again. I love that. That's the first time that I've had a best friend that's been a true best friend that I've been able to do that with. Um, and it's really important. Like when I first moved in here, I apologized because there was something that happened and I had kind of a bad attitude, you could argue. I was in a bit of a bad mood, and I said something that I wouldn't usually say. I mean, you could say it wasn't that bad, but it was bad because I know the circumstances, and it was bad for that person. It was bad for my best friend. I said, "Sorry, I probably wasn't in the best of moods. Like I'd hardly had any sleep. I was in so much pain from flat packing furniture, whatever reason, excuse, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just sorry. I'm still sorry to this day because I don't want to hurt their feelings, and they helped me loads, and they're my best friend. They said sorry too. For that, and that we moved on and got stronger. And there's was something else a while ago that they sorted out with me. And everything was sorted out. And we talk things through until we're fully comfortable that the issue's dealt with, so it's not going to crop up again. Because the worst thing is, and I've had this happen quite a few times, is that you think something's dealt with, but really it's not, and you're so scared about bringing it up again because you're like, the person's going, "Oh, don't spoil things," or don't like say that, you're making things worse. And it's not. It's like, if you can't deal with the bad feelings till they're fully fledged out and gone, then what hope is there? Because you'll just keep building those things up, resentment, then you'll get another thing will niggle at you and stuff that on top, until you've got a whole pyramid of stuff that's resentful or ill feeling, and you're not really being your true authentic self with this person. It's like a pyramid of ill feelings. It doesn't make sense. So you've got to make sure that you try and keep it on an even keel as much as possible. It requires a lot of communication, a lot of courage, because it is scary telling someone if something didn't make you feel good, because you don't wanna feel awkward with them, you don't wanna make them feel awkward, you don't wanna feel awkward, but then if you don't say anything, you're just gonna feel awkward anyway. I mean, I felt awkward saying some stuff. Like, for example, like, I do have bottles of water in my flat. This you could say this is a pedantic thing or a thing that I shouldn't be worried about, or why she being crazy or whatever, right? But I have anxiety and I like a certain amount of things in my home, right? If someone takes water, I don't like people coming and taking my bottles of water without asking, right? Especially if I haven't got many there, because I do have fibromyalgia. It's a pain condition. I've got to go out and get waters. It's heavy for me, even though I carry the shopping trolley. If got a lot of pain or more problems, and I don't really want to be buying more water, and I might have quite a number of them, but I go through like about 3 liters of water a day. I drink a lot of water, and there was a scenario once where, well, there's been a couple of scenarios where people have taken bottles of water without even asking me, even though they're my friends. I just can't stand that. It's a really big pet peeve and bug of mine. I'm like, I would not go into someone's home and just grab something, however well I know them, without asking their permission to have it, or I would get my own and in the first place, and I would bring it to theirs. I wouldn't expect them to give it to me, even if I was helping them out. Like, if someone said, "Oh, right, you know, do you need water and how many can I get you?" or something like that, or they ask me, or even if I ask them, like, say, "I'm really thirsty, is it okay if I have one of your waters?" That's much better. But I don't like people just taking it, because I can't keep track of how many waters I've got then. And it's just something, with my anxiety, that's why I love living on my own, because with my anxiety, there's a lot of things like that that happen. Like, I have to stock up on things. I have to have a certain amount of things, if you know what I mean. Like toilet rolls, at the moment, I'm starting to get low on them. I'm like, I'm gonna have to go out soon. Like tomorrow and the next day, I get toilet rolls, because it's gonna end up with emergency situations soon. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I just prefer living on my own, because it's so much easier to take care of myself with disabilities, which shocks people actually. Some people are like, "Oh, I thought it was easier when you live with someone with disabilities." I'm like, well, for me, usually no, because I get so anxious about it, like, and I just don't have to be anxious when I live in my own home and can sort myself out. I can get like double shampoos, for example. I can get like triple shower gels to make sure I don't run out, and I can have all my home comforts around me. That's why when I go, away, I don't go trekking or camping or tenting, or whatever you want to call it, tenting, camping. Yeah, I like my home creature comforts. I need like things around me, comforting things that I know that's good for my health. Because otherwise, I just get worse. That's why it was hard for me going to Disneyland Paris this last time, because the traveling was a friggin' nightmare. It's like so difficult for me. I know I'm going off on tangents now, but I'm telling you about the pros and cons of breaking your own rules and the consequence of that, and also how to have healthy relationships, right? So, breaking your own rules might be used to have unhealthy rules. For example, you might be like, "Oh, I don't discuss anything that I'm feeling or thinking with a person that's not good. I don't discuss any negative feelings." That is actually an unhealthy thing. So if you broke that rule about yourself, it'd be a very good thing, right? So we need to break rules that are bad for us. We need to break patterns that is bad for us. And then we need to actually get into good habits, get into good rules and things. So you might find that some of your rules it's good to break, because actually they were bad rules in the first place. Like, your rule may be like, "We do not discuss certain things in this household." And actually it's like, why? Why is anything off the table? Why aren't you transparent? Why aren't you open? Why aren't you honest? Why aren't you vulnerable? Because although it's difficult with relationships and dating, unless you're vulnerable with someone, you can never ever give your heart fully to someone. I've always said as well, you can never give your heart fully to someone else if you've got another person in it. Remember that. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't move on from another person, because you can. So make sure that you are setting healthy rules for yourself, and change the rules according to what you think is healthy or good for you, or to try something different, but make sure it's conscious. Like, don't break the rules to your own detriment. Don't break the rules to put yourself in a sexual position that's really bad for you. Don't break the rules where you're going to physically get hurt and stuff like that. Don't do those type of rules. Like, I have a rule of I don't take drugs or smoke, and I'm proud of that. I'll never stop that. I don't drink alcohol since I'm 19. I like those rules, right? They're healthy for me. They're not putting toxins in my body. I don't drink caffeine usually. These are all good rules for me, right? And so, like, some people are like, "Oh, but coffee's so good, caffeine's so good because it's a stimulant and keeps you awake." It's like, well, if you've got enough energy, then you will keep awake anyway, you know? I have got more energy back than I had before. So always break your own rules only if it's to your advantage, if it's to, possible good, and think about it carefully. And I would probably break only one rule at a time, maybe to try it out. But like, if any, don't allow someone else to break your rules. So this is really important, and the pros and cons of rule breaking. If you break your own rule, that's different. But if someone else is breaking your rule, it's usually they're breaking your boundary, and that's not good. You do not want that. So don't allow someone else to break your rules. Obviously, if you think that you really want to go for something and change something, change one of your rules, and that will accommodate someone, that can be different, right? But you don't want to be like, for example, when I'm in clubs with guys, I do not want guys' hands on my breasts, right? That's a rule, that's a boundary. I'm not going to break that because I don't want them on my breasts, right? That is healthy for me, that's good for me, that's right for me. I'm not going to do that. So I don't want some other guy trying to break that rule. That would be a con. That would be like, that's totally bang out of order. I'm not interested anymore. I've had guys trying to do that, touch me in places I don't want, and it's just like a really bad thing. You can't trust a person. They're really usually bad guys that do that. But you know what I mean? Sometimes they push boundaries and stuff. That's what I mean. Do not break your rules for someone else because someone else told you to, or because you feel pressurized into it to keep someone or be with someone. Only break a rule because you want to do it and you want to change the rules of your life or a rule of your life, and you're happy to with the consequences, whatever they may be. And you're trying something that's not going to be to your detriment. Like, you don't want to be breaking a major rule that's just going to be to your detriment. Like, some people are into BDSM stuff, which I'm not. But you don't want to, like, if you have a safe word, for example, I know in BDSM stuff people have safe words. You don't want to be then deciding not to have a safe word because you want to see how out of control you can be and how much dominance you can do. You don't want to be doing that. That's gonna like put you in a really disadvantage, and could end up in death. I've seen, I don't watch the news usually, but I've seen things where BDSM stuff ended up in death. People strangling people. Oh, but she never said no, or didn't use a safe word. I'm like, yeah. Did you give her a choice? Right. But going back to nice stuff now, only break your own rules, and I would break tiny rules at a time if you're going to start breaking, or change a rule that's going to be to advantage. Like I said, with me kissing guys in clubs whilst I'm single, that's been a good rule change for me personally, because I've allowed myself to get my kissing needs met without being in a relationship with someone who's toxic or bad for me, which is good, because I used to end up in toxic, bad relationships because I just think, yeah, I kissed a guy, then he's like, suitable to be in a relationship. But just because you kiss a person doesn't mean to say that they're suitable to be in a relationship with you. You know, just because you aesthetically attracted to someone or attracted to someone doesn't mean to say the right person for you. So you've got to have a think about what the other qualities, like, are they kind? Are they caring? Are they considerate? Are they empathetic? Are they open? Are they honest? All the qualities, right? In dating, we often go for the like looks and stuff. It's great if they got the looks you want as well, but you have to go for the qualities of the person, right? So you have to be thinking like that. I mean, even in dating, like, one of the rules I usually have dating as well is someone's got stupid photographs in their dating profile, like they're dressed as a clown or something, or they've just got masks on all the time. I don't like that either because I think they're a joker. They're someone who's going to mess around. They're not going to take a relationship seriously. It's going to be harder to talk to them. But again, you might want to break that rule and think, oh, okay, so maybe I should try a guy who's got a more fun, humorous personality and who does put those type of pictures in his profile, so that could be a rule you may want to break and try. So think about it carefully. And I am glad in this occasion that I did break my own dating rule, and it's led to something good so far. So keep your fingers crossed for me and hope it works out. It's always risky. You never know what's going to happen, but if we don't take risks in life, we don't get anywhere. So be bold, be brave, but be cautious and careful and look after your own heart. Remember, you matter, and I love you dearly. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Grab a copy of best-selling book Asexual Perspectives on Amazon. I'll see you soon in the next video live stream. Lots of love, take care, thumbs up, and goodbye. Mwah.